2008 matchup between Clemson and Alabama as kind of the turning point for the start of this era. You were on the sideline. Do you kind of see it that way?
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, I know we got smashed. I know that. I mean, we just got physically whipped. And that was a long night, long ride back to Clemson. I remember that very well.
When you look back on playing in the national championship, are there specific things you learned from that experience that have helped you get to where you are today? Absolutely.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, I think you draw from all your experiences, but when you've actually done something, it brings it even more to life for you. And you know, we won 20-something games in a row at Alabama. And the biggest thing that I remember when we won it, you got to take it. You know, right now it's just like, you know, hey, throw another trophy, you know, right next to the other one. But when we won it in '92, it had been a long time since Alabama had won a championship for Alabama standards. You know, whatever, 1978 or '79, and this is 1992. I mean, you're talking about you've gone through now the finish the '70s and the '80s, and now you're into the '90s, and I mean it wasn't good times. And you know, that team, not anybody thought we could win the championship that year. I think we were a 13.5-point underdog, as a matter of fact. Every time I see Gino Torretta, I remind him of that. I think we were a 13.5-point underdog, like one of the biggest underdogs ever. You know, some of the media people, we were a high school team going to play an NFL team, and you know, we were 12-0. But you know, we won the game. But what I learned from that is it's about how you play. I learned that a long time ago. It's about your team. It's not, again, you know, it's not always the most talented team. It's the team that plays the best and cares about it. And we had such a brotherhood and such a chemistry. I mean, we really had a team that served each other. You know, the defense, the offense, the special teams. I mean, we won games that year in all kind of ways. You know, everybody talks about we won the national championship, won 34-13 against Miami. We barely beat La Tech, like barely. David Palmer took a punt back. That's the only reason we beat La Tech. We're losing in the fourth quarter at Mississippi State and Starkville that year. Only time all year, first time all year we were down in the fourth quarter, and we cause a fumble on punt team. Steve Buskey causes a fumble, and Willis Bevel, whose two boys are on my team now, comes up with the fumble. We block a punt that I should have got for the touchdown, by the way. I'm still mad about that. But it bounces like perfect right into Langham's arms, and he walks in for a touch. I mean, we won a lot of different ways, and so there was a confidence with that team that we were just going to get it done. And, you know, so, but the biggest thing for me was the experience of being on the mountaintop. You know, that's not what it's all about, and that's what people think life is about. You know, how much money's in your bank account, you know, all that stuff. Your friends you have, what house you live in, and, you know, the car you drive, you know, how many champions. But that stuff is so fleeting. It's amazing how quick that moment goes away. It really is. You know, the best part of that game was being in the locker room after the game and the celebration with your teammates. But what I got out of that more than anything was a perspective of, man, what a journey. And the best part of it was it was truly the journey. It was the daily grind. It was the summer workouts. It was the bus rides. It was the movie theater. It was the dorm. It was the dining hall. It was the tough practices. It was just the relationships. And you know, so I've always just kind of had that perspective of, you know, let's make sure we enjoy it. And I've tried to be purposeful in that this year with this team, because I knew that these guys, you know, were on their way to a special season. And I think that they've had a great time. I don't think they're going to have any regrets. You know, I don't think they're going to look back and say, man, dang, I wish I'd enjoyed that a little bit more, because it's a rare thing. It really is. It's a hard, I mean, you got the exceptions. You got a school like Alabama. That's a rare exception. You know, most schools, I don't know, there's probably only about 34, 35 schools that have ever even won a national championship in the history of football. And if you take the last, since 1981, Texas has won one. Georgia's won one. Clemson's won one. I mean, it's just hard to do. How many's Michigan won since 1981? How many's Ohio State won since 19? It's a hard thing to do. You have the exception. Miami had a little run. Florida State's won about 3. Florida's won about 3. Alabama's, the enigma. It's just hard. So, I just hope when it's all said and done that these guys have enjoyed their journey.
You talked about the time at Alabama being the most normal up until that point in your life. What did it mean to have your mother there with you, and then what did it mean to you to be able to help her and your brothers later on?
Well, I mean, it meant that we just did what you got to do. I mean, first of all, but I loved having my mom there. It was a little different at first, but again, when you're in the middle of situations in your life, you just make the best of it. That's kind of how I've always lived my life, and that's what I try to tell people. Listen, it's, just make the best of it. That's what the happiest people in the world do. They don't have the best of everything. They just make the best of everything, and that's to me what true peace and happiness is all about. And I think that it gave me a drive because I was driven to graduate. I was driven to create a better path for my family, for my brothers, for my dad, for my mom, and I didn't want to be a part of the problem. I wanted to be a part of the solution, and so I was driven that way, and that's why I would put the work in. I wanted to exhaust the moment that I had from a relationship standpoint, networking, academically. I didn't want to just get my degree. I wanted to excel. I wanted to be an honor roll. I wanted to be an all-SEC academic guy. I wanted to, get my master's. I wanted to, arm myself because I was sold out that if I get my education, then my life can be better. And if my life can be better, my family's life can be better. And, when you're in the midst of that, it's sometimes it's very hard to keep that perspective and focus on the future because you get caught up in some tough moments. But, my mom was great. I mean, we slept in the same bed for 3 years. It was a special time. It really was. A little small. It saddens me that our apartment was torn down by the tornado, just smashed. But we lived in apartment 81. That was my high school number, and lived in apartment 81, lived there for 5 years. And my mom lived there with me for 3 years. My redshirt sophomore, junior, senior year. And then my first year as a GA, we got fancy. And me and my mom and Chris Donnelly, who was still he had one more year. I was a GA, and Chris had another year as a safety. We moved in. We rented a little house over toward Alberta City, in Coventry was what it was called. We rented a little house, and we each had our own room. That was big time. So we had a nice little home, and in fact, that house was torn down by the tornado too. But it was a special time, and then I got married the next year, and my mom probably would have lived with Kath and I if it wasn't for my father-in-law, because I was making about $450 a month, and Kath had just finished her master's, and she was teaching school, making about $22,000, and but her dad helped us so that we could make sure my mom had a nice apartment, and so she was close to us, but she had her own apartment, and then she met Larry McIntosh, who's my stepdad, and Larry McIntosh has just been a blessing to our family, and has taken my mom all over the place. Larry never had kids, so he didn't know what he was getting into when he started dating my mom, and they've been married now I think about 18 years, and so it's been a great journey, and it's been fun to see my family grow, and especially the transformation that took place in my dad's life. Just awesome to see how he lived, especially the last 15 years or so of his life, and the blessings that my mom has had, and And then my brother, my oldest brother, I was able to help him go to college, and he graduated from Sanford University and retired 30 years from the Pelham City Police Department. Now he works for me up here, and it's been great.
What about your boys? Letting them experience this with you. They're old enough to know what's going on. They're not too old that they're gone. Have you been able to reflect on just how special it's been that the age in their life right now, what they're going through is something else?
Yeah, well, they don't know what they don't know. They really don't. I tell them sometimes, y'all need a little more Rycroft Circle and a little less Sycamore Drive every now and then. I'll tell them that. But they're just great kids. I mean, they really, and I know I'm a dad, but man, God has blessed me. I have 3 of the most precious boys you could ever want to be around. I mean, they're just, they get it. They get it. They're just humble kids that don't expect anything. They work hard, don't really ask for anything. And, we can thank Kath for that because she's done a phenomenal job with raising them. But it's been special. I mean, it really has, because Will's 17 now, Drew's 16 here in another week, and Clay's 12. And to see them grow up with the way they've grown up, because they just don't know anything different. I mean, and the people that they've been around, the relationships that they have with so many guys, it's been really special. One of these days, they'll really realize, what they've been able to do and experience. But right now, it's just kind of their normal, if you will. But they're just great boys. Great boys.
He's almost 100 yards, rushing 5 of the last 6 games. Do you feel like he can have that same kind of success against Alabama?
I hope so. We're gonna find out. We're gonna give it all we got. That's for sure. We probably won't win if he don't play well. You don't win championships without your best players showing up and getting clocked in and performing. That's for sure. So he's been there all year long. I know this, nobody's going to prepare harder. Nobody's going to play with more will to win than number 4. So, hopefully he'll be able to have one more good one in him.
Does the familiarity with the SEC, does that help in this game at all?
No, it doesn't have anything it doesn't have anything to do with the SEC or the ACC. It's just about 2 good teams, and it's about the 22 guys out on the field and how they play. Can you beat the guy in front of you? Can you out-execute the other team? Can you be technically more sound? That's really all it comes down to. It doesn't have anything to do with the league.
For Alabama and its fans, this is a fairly commonplace going to this game. What kind of feedback have you gotten from Clemson people as to what this means to them? Well,
that's been one of the best things about this whole deal is the joy that the Clemson folks have had, because it's been a long time. It's been a long time, and 7 years ago, that was my goal, and I said that then. I said we're going to win a national championship again, and we are, and hopefully it's Monday night. But if it doesn't go our way Monday night, we're not going away, and so we're not. We're built, and that's how we've built this program. We've built to make a strong run, and we've been doing that. So we're not going away. We hope to become a team like Alabama that can compete in that top 10 consistently. Because again, if you're in that mix, you got a chance every year. But it's been special for me to see the sheer joy that the Clemson fans have been able to take out of this season, and the pride that they have in their program. It's been a lot of fun.
Have you given any thought to your pregame speech on Monday night?
Well, yeah, a little. I mean, I'm always thinking about, things here and there. A little bit. You want me to tell you what it is?
Well, better question. Do you even need to really say anything? Because
no.
you know the stakes and stuff like that.
No, less is more. Again, I mean, just got to get them to the game. These guys are going to play. This isn't game 1. It's game 15. We are who we are. They are who they are. And both teams know what they got to do to have a chance to win. So you just got to go play the game.
I think you said practice time doesn't matter, but do you think that's a rule that should be changed?
No. I mean, we're student athletes. I mean, you don't change a whole university calendar because of a football game. That's crazy. This is college. This university is a lot bigger than this football team. I mean, we're semesters, and our semester, we got out at a certain date. You start back at a certain date. I mean, it's the same thing in high school. You'd have to change everything. Everybody, you'd have Pandora's box opening up. I mean, you got some high school. How about Stanford? Yeah, I'm good buddies with David Shaw. They don't start school till like September every year. They play like 3 games before they even start school. Well, is that fair? I mean, who cares? I mean, it is what it is. Everybody, your quarters, your semesters, you start school this day, you start that ain't got nothing to do with it.
Dabo, when you were, I want to go back to growing up one more time. When you were in middle school, high school, was there ever a time when you said, I don't want to be called Dabo anymore? I want to, when you rebelled against?
No, because again, you got to understand, and I joke with people when I say this, but it's the honest to God truth. I didn't even know my name was William till about the 3rd grade. I go back to the time, and here's what happened, because when I was, you just had, everybody wrote everything, you had a role, and that's just what I was called from birth. And so, but in about the 2nd or 3rd grade, they came out with them Scantron sheets. And some of you older guys in here remember that. And it's like, what is that? And you had to have a number 2 pencil, and you had to bubble all this thing in. It'd take you longer to do that than it did take the test. And so, especially with William Christopher Swinney. And I'm like, good God, and I had to remind myself how to spell my own name. So no, or they give the teacher the role. And so the role that the teacher would have with the first time they start computerizing that stuff would have your birth name. It'd be like William Christopher Swinney, and I'd be looking around like, who's it? Hey, there's another Swinney in here. I got a cousin. So no, that's just, I've been Dabo since birth, and that's all I ever knew. And maybe if I'd grown up somewhere else or moved, but I was in the same place from kindergarten to high school. So by the time I was in the 2nd grade, that's all anybody knew me as. And so it just, my high school basketball coach, Paul Kellogg, to this day, has never called me Dabo. He's always called me Ervil. Always, used to drive me nuts, because he'd talk to the media about me, and he'd say, Ervil did this and Ervil did that, and, it used to drive me crazy. But no, I've never considered that.
Since we're going down memory lane, a few years ago you talked about your first recollections as an Alabama fan as a little kid, dressing up on game day and going down the street and probably making a fool of yourself as a 10-year-old.
Yep.
How clearly do you remember those days?
Oh, I mean, I was brainwashed. I mean, are you kidding? That's just the way it is in Alabama. When you come out of the hospital, they got to stamp your birth certificate. You're either Alabama or Auburn, or you don't leave. You got to choose. I mean, any of y'all that have been around that state, that's just the way it is. And my dad, there's never been a bigger Alabama fan. And so that's just how I was raised. I mean, and you just fight and argue, and you drew the lines. And we used to have, and at school you had Alabama Auburn Day, always the Friday before the Alabama Auburn game. And when I was growing up, it was always in Birmingham, and I played in a couple of them in Birmingham before they started changing it. But it was unreal to be a part of that. But that's just all I knew. And I always told everybody Alabama's the smartest state, 4 A's and a B. I mean, that's how we grew up. It's the best school, best, smartest state. That's just how you were raised. And so it was special. And in fact, somewhere Miss Autry, my 5th grade teacher's laughing somewhere because I think it was the 4th or 5th grade, and there's probably a picture in the little Valley Elementary yearbook somewhere, but man, I came to school and I was decked out. I had my Alabama cowboy hat and jacket and my big foam number 1 hand and my pom-poms. And I mean, I walked all up and down that school, cheering for Alabama. And we used to just go back and forth, had a lot of fun. Had some good friends that were Auburn. So as soon as the game would be over, you'd be calling that guy, or they'd be calling you. You had to actually call people back then, and go to the wall and pick a phone up and answer it. So it was a ton of fun, growing up, and to be a part of it was amazing. You know, my goal when I just wanted to gain the respect of my teammates and try to make something out of myself, and you know, turned out being a you know, decent player. But to earn a scholarship there and to be a part of the things I was able to be a part of was way beyond anything I ever dreamed of.
If you could hear God, would he have Bear Bryant's voice?
I don't know. He might have Frank Howard's voice. I don't know. But you know, I loved Coach Bryant. I mean, I just thought he was the greatest thing ever. And you know, every Sunday I can remember me and my dad, and we'd sit in there and we'd watch the Golden Flake show. He'd have the Golden Flake and the